Okay, completing the square. It says completing the squares up there, but we're just going to call it completing the square. It says works with any quadratic. Now, again, the first two methods that we learned were limited. When you solve for x or when you factor, not everything's factorable. Sometimes you have more than one variable. I choose to use this when the leading coefficient is 1 and b, the linear coefficient, is even, or if the leading coefficient is not 1, but a divided into b is even. So I really want to be able to take half of that b, whether it's already even and the leading coefficient is 1, or even when I factor out the leading coefficient, I still want to have a b value that's even. So, because I know I'm going to have to take half of it. Well, let's see if we can't do it again. This one's going to be a little bit more complicated because this time, as you can see, we do have a nice little a. So what we're going to do is we're going to group our variables together, and we're going to factor out our leading coefficient. Notice I didn't say factor the common term, I said leading coefficient. I also need to move that 9 to the other side. So I'll subtract 9 from both sides, and that will give me a negative 9 over there. After I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and complete the square. So as you can see, I would complete the square in a problem like this because that is an even number. So what I would do next is I'll come down here and I'll take half of b. Well, half of negative 2 is negative 1. Well, whatever number I get from taking half of b, I will square. So negative 1 times negative 1 is a positive 1. Now, if you notice, I put this positive 1 inside my parentheses. Well, what's being done to my parentheses is being multiplied by 4. So I'm going to take that and multiply it by that, which will actually give me 4 times 1 is 4. So I've manipulated the left side of my equation by adding 4 to it. So to balance my equation, I'll come over to that side and also add 4. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and combine those like terms and see if we can't get our answer here, negative 5. And then lastly, what I can do is I can solve for x. So I've finished the process of completing the square, and now we'll go ahead and see if we can't solve for x. So what I'll do first is I'll go ahead and divide both sides by 4. Whoops, this is a different color. When I do that, I'll get x minus 1 and parentheses squared is equal to negative 5 fourths. My next step is to take the square root of both sides. When I do that and use the nice little quotient rule, remember it is plus or minus. So I'll say it's the square root of negative 5, which would be I square root of 5, over the square root of 4. Well, the square root of 4 is actually 2. And then what I can do is go ahead and add 1 to both sides. So that would be my answer. Now, you could see it many different ways. You could actually see it written with a common denominator and stuff like that. But in terms of you working your problem, I'm okay with your answer looking something like that. All right, there's another example completing the square.